Thank you so much for having us here. I'm very proud and happy that you accepted our invitation, mine and Guido's. As Guido said in a moment ago, we have got almost the whole world, all the continents, except maybe Australia. We have got South America, we have got Middle East, we have got Europe, Central and Eastern, we have got North America, we have got Africa, and we have got Europe represented by Switzerland. So everyone is here. So what we would like to discuss today is the prediction for 2026 in crypto, but not only in crypto, but in a global economics, because everyone is asking what is going on. Metals are very expensive, so everything will collapse. Crypto is in this very strange cycle. No one saw this kind of cycle before. So, gentlemen, according to your prediction and your feeling, what will happen in 2026? What will we see on Bitcoin? What will we see in a global economy? And maybe what will we see in a global politics as well? Okay. Can we start from the perspective of South America, because it's for us it's very interesting, because we always look to the world from the European bubble, but the perspective I think of South America, Brazil, is very interesting. How it works?
Brazil is it's a unique year because we're gonna have elections, and we have been running in the left side, and we have a possibility to go to the right side, and it would be very good for changing power in the country, to have new opportunities to invest in. So, and the global environment is a little bit scary, everything geopolitical that is happening, and that's why, in my opinion, all the metals on the high, everybody looking for some kind of real assets. Everybody's scary with the long-term interest rates from the Japan, also other countries, developed countries too. So it's a very delicate time that we're living. But for Brazil, it's a unique opportunity because we could take profits for all this instability and get capital from all around the world to invest in Brazil. So I'm a kind of optimist looking for Brazil, but very concerned the geopolitical time that we are living right now.
Yeah, and for example, from our perspective, a lot of Polish citizens are looking for a second home in Brazil now, because they are afraid of war. From the, let's say, local perspective, when Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin and, let's say, Chinese will divide the world into three pieces again, like in Iota, they will need to go to look for a new strategy.
Yeah, Brazil is very friendship for all countries. We have people from Japan, Italy, Germany, Korea. There are so many people that live in Brazil, so everybody is very welcome in Brazil, a very peaceful place and very cheap. To buy real estate in Brazil is nothing because of the political instability. But yeah, I have been listening many people around the world moving to Brazil, buying a second house over there. The climate is very nice, the food, the people, the energy. So that's something that I have been listening.
And crypto adoption?
Oh, we have all the countries that you have a volatility in the currency. You have a lot of adoption with the stablecoins. So yeah, in Brazil is moving very fast in the regulation. Our central banking leading the DREX, the CBDC movement to collateralize all the institutional banks. So yeah, Brazil is very crypto friendly, and this year probably we're gonna have technology infrastructure that maybe other central banks around the world could use, and we have a globalization of CBDC around the world. So yeah, Brazil is moving fast. I don't know if you guys know, but Brazil 2 years ago created the PIX, the peer-to-peer payment, and the adoption was crazy. Nowadays they have a lot of transactions daily. So Brazil, the financial system, the Brazilian financial system is well developed, and I wouldn't be surprised if Brazilian central bank would be the first central bank in the world that used the CBDC. So that's
amazing. Oh. Thank you so much. Coming to Guido, I remember when it was 2018, I think you took me to buy a wine in Zug, and you were so proud, and you told me, we are so open as the crypto valley to crypto payments, and you can pay with Bitcoin. And we went there, paid with Bitcoin, and were waiting for the confirmations for 20 minutes. And after that, we went with 2 bottles of wine. So you were so happy that the development is that nice in Switzerland. Maybe I will ask the tricky questions to both of you, because I remember as well the Maerki, Baumann and Falcon at this time as the first banks, which for Europeans was something amazing, that you can invest in crypto and have account, and the crypto is something not criminal, so it was absolutely fine. But from that time, does Switzerland develop a technology? Is it like, let's say, the place when the technology for a payment, for example, in crypto, is it possible to pay now using the blockchain, which is much faster in Zug, or still you need to wait these few minutes? How it works? How Switzerland looks comparing to Asia and comparing to the solutions from, let's say, China or Hong Kong or Singapore or even Estonia?
Switzerland was on the forefront of digital asset innovation. And when you talked about technology, I mean, Ethereum was developed and established in Zug. That's why it came Crypto Valley. Then Amina Group, Seba Bank at that time was then founded in the city hall, or how you call it, the Gemeindehaus.
Yeah.
City Hall. We moved into there because the government at that time was very proud to support, and that was also basically Switzerland, or Zug in particular, accepted crypto to pay for government services and even tax. But the amount was limited to 300 Swiss francs, so totally irrelevant. But you remember the mayor was a socialist, a teacher, hardly speaking English. And then he was invited to go to Stanford talking about crypto valley. So this symbolic matter in every change, right? If you look at also geopolitically now, it has a significant importance in that regard. So what happened in the meantime, the example with payment, the wine. Unfortunately, we didn't choose the most expensive wine. Therefore, the ratio between cost transaction and the consumption value was not very fortunate. In the meantime, there are various online stores that accept crypto, but actually it's not so common. There's still a lot of education that needs to happen. Many people have considered it as an asset class, wealth protection with Bitcoin. But you know, when it goes into token economy, the particular token, hardly people buy the token for a real use case, right?
Maybe from my side, as a representative of a private bank, our clients that have been into crypto for 7 years now, we served them for 7 years, they usually don't use it for payments, so for them that's maybe just to see how it develops. But what I can clearly say is the crypto profile of our clients, it has really moved already in 2025. I believe in 2026 it's definitely going to change from an investment opportunity, sometimes driven by fear of missing out, quick money. It has really now transformed into a long-term investment. So we see many of our clients adding it 1%, 3% or so as a long-term investment. So this development, I think, will actually increase even in 26. We as a bank, for example, we have even now a pension solution. It's called a 1E pension insurance. That's a specific way how you can invest some of your monies in your pension fund. And we are, I think, the first bank in Switzerland who added, you can offer like up to 10 strategies. And we have now an offering of 7, and 2 of them, they add also crypto. And it starts now to be picked up by the market. So we have a couple of clients now that have already signed or they are interested in signing. And I think that's also another sign when you even actually think about putting it into your pension fund money, that it really has become an asset class to stay.
Yeah, because people believe that they can invest in the long-term strategy, something nice and good. I just, in regards to adoption, I think it is not popular what I will say, but I had a chat with one of our Ukrainian customer, and he told me something very brutal, but I think he's right. There are 2 factors which increased the crypto adoption in Ukraine. First was COVID, and the second one is war. Because now the crypto adoption is in Ukraine is more than 60%. So comparing to 10% in traditional Western countries, or even 20, it's amazing. They go to buy food in the shops using crypto because they don't trust in the local currency, or they cannot do it because this is or inflation or this kind of situation. So I think in a traditional finance and in this Europe which lives in comfort, it will take a little bit longer to increase the adoption. And we always say that we will see adoption when people will not think how they can pay for coffee in Starbucks. Yes, they will use their crypto and they will be happy to pay it like a stablecoins. Yes, of course we don't want to talk about Mika these days. Yes, but it is completely killing this possibility because you cannot use stablecoins. You have to have a e-money institutional or license or banking license. Yes, so I think these factors do not, let's say, help us to develop in Europe, but for sure it will change. But this kind of pension fund or pension investment possibility is something that shows that people believe that in the future they will, first of all, will be able to earn on crypto, but use crypto. So that's absolutely something unique. So congratulations, it's a very good idea.
Yeah, thank you. And maybe to add one sentence, the interesting thing is we often talk to law firms or to doctors' practices, and especially law firms, they have often young partners. They are maybe around 40. They still work in Switzerland at least 25 more years. And it's mostly these younger partners who say, I don't want to spend 70% in stocks and the rest in cash. I want to have something different. And it turns out now that if they have a larger partnership, the older ones, they can still pick other strategies. But for the younger ones, that's really interesting. And I think there's many other industries who have young people who are now earning well, who have good positions, and they are really open for that and they want that.
Amazing, really good solution. It's comparable to our token and pension for athletes, Olympic athletes who can spend the token for the pension. So more or less the same strategy, but in a little bit different way and a little bit different company, but more or less the same basis. Thank you so much. And North America, is there a Trump effect? How it works? What is the prediction?
So if I may abstract a little bit, because obviously what's going on in the United States is controversial. Lots of people have different views. If I may, I think what you're seeing is the debate about the next industrial revolution that is going on. Mm-hmm. What does that mean in practice? It means that we are seeing, obviously, AI is now being commercialized. Mm-hmm. A few years ago, it was a nice chatbot. It can write Shakespeare. Now people are doing it for operational leverage. Mm-hmm. What does that mean in practice? You're seeing the fact that energy demand is going stratospheric. Same for data centers. You're seeing, obviously, Elon Musk is going to be automating a lot of stuff. In Switzerland, I've just read that the On shoe factory is building purely robotic companies. What does that mean globally? Because before you do it in Vietnam or China, and you have the same in the US. So if you look at all these trends, and blockchain, of course, plays a role in it because it's a very natural language, for example, for AI and robotics and programmatic communication. So if you combine all these trends and put everything within that framework, then I think the current political debates and discussions, be it from the left or the right, or very unfortunate wars that are happening, it's happening because there's this transformation. We all have much more information. People have much more access. With Starlink, you can access anywhere. As you said, with crypto, people use it in war zones and they have access. So I think the question for us is how quickly, whether it's the United States or Europe, can you rewrite or update the rules of engagements and principles? So some people, and I can absolutely see the argument, which is, look, there's a set of international laws that have been written since World War II. They're absolutely critical. There are a set of labor relations with capital and with production that have been established. But within the context of new technology and all that's going on, the question is not abandoning those rules. The question is, how do you update them? And I think if the debate in the US and in Europe and in Asia converges on those topics, I think we actually have a very bright future. We're sort of at the point when horse and carriage were replaced by cars. And you saw the same debates actually in the beginning of the 20th century. So that would be sort of my view on this.
Amazing, you are absolutely right. It's a different point of view because, for Europeans, AI is something that they are a little bit scared of.
Do you think like NATO will survive and the World Bank and the UN, or do you think, they've run their course?
Good question.
Well, sadly, I'm not Anthony Scaramucci. But again, I would rephrase it slightly. I would say, are the first principles of NATO and the first principles of international law and how countries have had a certain degree of stability and predictability in relationships, are those first principles going to still be there? I believe yes, and I would like to believe that they are. Are they necessarily going to be in the form factor that we're used to? In other words, does the iPhone look like the rotary phone, even though you can still call on it? Right. It doesn't. And it looks different, and your kids and our kids use my kids don't even call it a phone anymore. Like, Nokia is not a phone. The iPhone is the phone. So I understand the point of the question, and obviously it's a big point of debate, but if we rephrase it and say, does something converge on a similar architecture of international relations? I think yes, my view. Whether we're going to sustain these institutions, I think they have to be anti-fragile. So you have to make them stronger, basically.
And Middle East, how it works, what is the point of view? And because for us, for most of us, like Europeans, the Middle East is, when we go to Middle East, we always see, okay, they have got the regulation, but they are extremely focused on development, yes, on delivering. And I think this transmission from oil business into the new technology is amazing. And it's like having in mind that, okay, oil is something that can end or reschedule our main goals. It's amazing. And I'm sure that in Europe it will take 50 years of discussion before taking the decision. And there is the decision, and maybe a little bit later on discussion how to prepare the framework. Am I right?
Yeah, look, I've lived in Dubai now for 16 years and born and raised as a Brit. And it's interesting when I think about, I was at Abu Dhabi Finance Week in December, just before the Formula One race. And it's the first time I felt that actually, New York will always be the sort of global capital hub, and then Tokyo does its thing. and Hong Kong has lost its mojo a little bit, and London was there, right? But I actually think that, you know, Abu Dhabi could replace London, just based on the energy, the talent, everything that you see around happening in the region. You know, the leaders of the UAE, if you think about it, the country is just 50 odd years old, right? So there are pictures when you come and look at Sheikh Zayed Road, there was one building in 1977, which actually Queen Elizabeth opened. And they've kept it as a memento, really, because it's now the smallest building on Sheikh Zayed Road, right at the beginning of the World Trade Center roundabout. But Sheikh Mohammed actually had this thing that nothing is impossible, right? And when we talk about sort of currencies and crypto, and it'd be interesting, Guido, to remind me what the price of Bitcoin was in 2018 when you bought those 2 bottles of wine. But, you know, we're probably heading to 100K this week, right? If things carry on. It's been a good couple of days for Bitcoin. But the reality is that nothing is impossible. And I think that mindset, when you look at these small, really fiefdoms that were created, that are now playing on the global stage. Today, the UAE passport is the 5th most powerful passport in the world for a country that is 56 years old, right? Amazing. When you think about currency and what you can do in the UAE, you can pay for your school fees, you can buy a car, you can buy real estate, you can get yield on your USDT or USDC. One of the biggest challenges, I remember being at Davos a couple of years back, and literally I was being interviewed, and Jamie Dimon was sat where Guido was, and somebody asked him, what do you think of Bitcoin? And he said, it's shit. And these were his exact words, because you know, you don't normally hear that type of language from a global CEO describing Bitcoin. And then fast forward 24 months, and the world is in a very different place where now they are on it, and in a meaningful way, right, at JP Morgan. But now when you look at, you know, the Clarity Act in the US today, and $6.6 trillion of banking deposits are at stake because they don't want yield on stable coins, right? So I think fundamentally, you know, the geopolitical situation of the world is volatile, right? And I think that will continue for the foreseeable future. But when you think about democratizing access, if you think about USDT, it's the first time in history, if you ask the leadership of Tether what was the inflection point when they started in 2014, it was actually COVID. It's the first time in history. If you think about financial services, parents teach their children about insurance, mortgages, savings. But it was the first time in history where parents could not go and transfer money. You couldn't go to Western Union, you couldn't pay your school fees, you couldn't go to the bank. So it was the kids actually educating the parents and saying, hey, there's a thing called stablecoins, you can do this, and you can transfer the money, and I can get the money without you physically having to go and move that money. So as you know, we are changing, and there's a lot of change, but I think the UAE in particular in the Middle East, and then you've got countries like Iran today that are going through their own challenges. You've got countries like Saudi Arabia, which are waiting for clear regulations. And you think about the UAE, we are maybe 1 million Emiratis, right? So they're a minority in the expat population, right? It's like 8% of the population, the other 92% is expat. In Saudi Arabia, that's different, right? So it's mostly local. You look at Qatar, 200,000 Qataris, right? So these are small countries, but very powerful and very rich in resources, but playing global. And when it comes to artificial intelligence, the UAE, with the US administration now giving them access to chips and infrastructure, I think Sheikh Tahnoon, who's the president's brother, is now one of the biggest guys in the AI space. We're building infrastructure investments, and they're global. So I think the nice thing about the Middle East is that, you know, we're not afraid. We are going global. We have the resources, and there's a very big difference from a talent perspective. When I moved to the region, if you worked at Goldman and you were an analyst or an associate, that type of talent would go to the Middle East. Today, partners are going to the Middle East. So there's a big, big difference now, and the quality of life is really, really good. So from my perspective, love it. I think there's a lot to achieve, and it's a very young population, right? People are hungry for knowledge, and without crypto, AI doesn't work, and without AI, crypto doesn't work. So I think that is also going to come together very, very strongly over the next couple of years.
If I may add one sentence
Sure.
from a Swiss banker's perspective, I fully agree with you, because we have a more than 500 corporate accounts with our bank. And I think we are really one of the few banks, especially private banks, which are open for corporate banks, for corporates in the crypto field. And as you said, the talent 7 years ago, 6 years ago, actually went to Zug, to Crypto Valley, and we are very close in Zurich, so we could profit from that. And in the last 2 years, we have really felt how the talent has shifted. Zug is still great, but has shifted to the Middle East. And I mean, I've been there now for 2 years very frequently. We are at the moment in the process of applying for a license in Abu Dhabi. We don't have it yet, but I think it's very wise for the Swiss banks to do that and to actually chase the talent there. And I've seen pretty much every free zone, both in Dubai, but also in Abu Dhabi, and it's amazing. I mean, the offering, what you get when you go there as a young talent, it's amazing.
Well, I think for Guido, he likes golf, right? So we have some pretty good golf courses as well, right? So.
Yeah, still a revenge with Michael, right? But there's some very interesting points. But let's start first with Abu Dhabi or the Middle East. I mean, I opened the Amina branch 2022, and I started actually the conversation in 2017 when Richard Tang was still the
At
regulator,
ADGM,
and
yeah.
he invited me. And there's a long leadway to get there, and you have to create comfort. But then I said, why did it happen? And the real difference between the Emiratis and many other locations, there was, with the oil crisis, and what do we have? We have oil and we have sand. So we need to have a strategy. And they had a strategy. And one pillar was digitalization. And it all fitted very nicely into it. And creating a new financial system it's the epicentrum of everything. Leading to your point about the fourth industrial revolution, and that's also why at that time we created the Amina Group, respectively SEBA, is that with digitalization of the currency, you can bring money, create it embedded between trade and finance and society and government services. And money is no longer like financial markets, but money, if you think about it, is just a measurement like weight, length, or what have you. But it became a dynamic in itself. And now with the token economics, and I think that's a lot of people try to do that, utility token, payments token, whatever, you can move into a different type of economy, even inverting certain business models that were very successful at the beginning of the digitalization. And then, how you said it, blockchain and AI, that comes together, because AI needs to always refer back to the truth, and then it's hashed. So you cannot create a narrative of a narrative of a narrative. And, if you believe Elon Musk, and, he was right many times when it came to that. He believes AGI is around the corner, if not next year, in 2 years. And then he talked about, Tesla is no longer about cars. It's about Optimus, the robots. And he talks about in 3 to 4 years, Optimus gives you health services, including operations, that is on the level as on the same level as the president of the US gets today, for free. And that is basically, we're talking about the system and the world order. But think about it, with digitalization and finding the perfect balance, it's the end of capitalism, right? Because there is no edge to go after it. So there is, we are the left and the right, and probably it will emerge on the back of technology into something we don't know yet. And it's going to be very interesting.
As a sort of descendant of Milton Friedman through my education, I think the end of capitalism is a hard call. The reason is that I think with any new technology, you will have supply and demand imbalances, and you will still have the challenge of incentive structures. In other words, how these incentives are structured from a public policy perspective, or how it works in society, and how do you ration supply and demand. Mm-hmm. And I think in the absence of any other alternatives, I think capitalism and free markets will continue to be the best way we can do it, as you say, until it becomes infinite supply. Mm-hmm. But I think even with Elon Musk's tremendous talent, we won't get infinite number of machines for some time to come. But that's my view.
You're correct. And the bottleneck that will always exist, let's assume there is always the perfect optimum, the equilibrium. Therefore, the visible hand is a game over. But one thing that is always the bottleneck is energy.
That's the point.
Yeah, but Guido, just one thing. You're absolutely right that nothing is impossible, and comparing it with human. The American example, we are in Swiss mountains. Like 3 weeks ago, Lindsey Vonn, she came back after 6 years, and she won downhill. Yeah, so nothing with the new leg. Yeah, but her friends, the competitors from over the world, they were the same ladies. Yes, and they didn't do the progress, or they did, but she's absolutely talented. So that's something that you cannot replace, and that will be still something missing. So there will be absolute talents that you will not be able to compete in.
But I mean, just building on that point, I think the next stage is humanoids. And you're starting to see quite a bit of money going into that space. And I actually think, I don't know if it takes 3 years or 10 years, but there is going to come a time where, those humanoids are going to be taking and doing everything that we take for granted, and being able to do it faster, cheaper, and without any health issues going forward. So your productivity levels are going to go up, your cost base is going to go down, and as a society, that's going to lead to a lot of challenges.
Yeah, but Guido is really right when he talked about the energy. Energy, it's also a good investment to look for. Brazil has a lot of good companies that provide energy, and a new investment in the future could be the fusion energy, that there's a lot of institutional investment going through. So that's something that we must look for, because everything needs energy and clean energy. So yeah, I think that investing in energy is a good thing for the long term.
Well, Trump's going for Greenland, right? So he'll be able to find quite a bit of energy.
But I have a question. As we're not in the price prediction game, don't worry. But what do you think about continuous Bitcoin dominance? Is that going to decouple, or do you think it is still going to be the dollar of crypto?
Personally, I think, BlackRock has a lot to play in this, right? So all the ETF guys are embedded to see Bitcoin win, at least in the short term, right? What does that look like in 20 years? I think is hard to call. But my view is, at least for the next 3 to 5 years, Bitcoin is still going to be the primary asset for our space. Just like the dollar is the global reserve currency, but under pressure today. But for now, I think Bitcoin is still the clear dominant leader.
It's like with gold, so we are asking if it will be platinum or something else which will replace. Nothing replaces gold. So depending on the perspective, but the short time perspective, for sure, Bitcoin will
but
still
it
be
is
there.
digital gold. I mean, I genuinely feel, right, gold is sort of illiquid, it's heavy, it's, with Bitcoin, you don't have any of those issues, right? And that's its power, right? And its speed and its transparency, and everything's on chain. And we're going to see tokenized versions of gold already. You can buy bars left, right, and center from your banks. And for the general person and for the soccer mom, gold is still something that you understand because you've been hearing it since you were a kid. But our children and their children will have been hearing Bitcoin from day one. So for them, that becomes digital gold.
So quantum computing, to what extent it's a real threat?
Again, it's hard to call, right? Because I think ultimately a lot of it's still theory, right? And ultimately, till it's tested, you don't know if it's going to get broken. There's always people that are going to advocate that quantum will actually break the code. But, time will tell, right? It's a hard one to sort of, would I want to go on Polymarket and actually make a prediction on that? I think that's a tough one. But personally, I think that's a difficult one to call. But it's like anything in life, right? You ride it for now, right? I mean, think about Europe, right? Everybody had their own currency, and then the euro came along. And now everybody regrets the euro being here. And I think if people could have their own currencies back, they would. Because, the project has failed, right? And the same thing may happen in the sense that, you know, would quantum actually come out and break Bitcoin? Who knows?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Great.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. It was a very nice chat. It was really, really great.